That's the Moroccan lineup that we're looking at. They've been forced to make one change. They're without El Baez in the centre of their defence, and at number 14, Kudani Lassen comes in place of him, but he is known to the rest of the players as Sina. The two skippers, and the fact that on the right the German skipper is Karl-Heinz Rummenigge starting a match for the first time is the significant fact about the West German team. Badu Ezaki is the opposite number to Schumacher, and the Germans still without Augenthaler, who's unfit, but Briegel has recovered, and so has Magat. Judging from the lineup, it would appear that Dietmar Jacobs is going to be used as the sweeper. They have two stoppers in the centre of their defence. And it would seem that Franz Beckenbauer has decided that Timumi is a sufficiently good player, African Footballer of the Year, to be man-for-man marked. Here's the referee, Zoran Petrovic, and his linesmen come from Austria and from Hungary. Stadium by no means full. There's quite a swirling wind. A lot of support for the team who have Schumacher at the back. 5 substitutes as usual for each team. And up to now, Morocco have only used 14 players. West Germany, because mainly of injuries, have used 16. And those substitutes, Immel is the goalkeeper, Bremer, who's played in midfield and in defence, Litbarski is there again, and Hoeneß to come in if necessary up front. A big man to bother the centre of the defence, which will certainly miss the presence of Baez. Franz Beckenbauer will remember well how in 1970 Morocco led West Germany at half-time by the only goal of the match. But the West Germans recovered in the second half, thanks in the main to Uwe Seeler, who got the equaliser. Referee, one of the younger ones here, is only 34, but there are 1 or 2 in their 30s. And here's Krimau. The Moroccans will endeavour to play the game at their pace. And the West Germans, who only arrived from Querétaro yesterday, will have to adjust to an increase of heat, and perhaps more importantly, an increase of humidity, which is at 57%. This is Thomas Bertholdt, who's been one of their most impressive players so far. And having watched West Germany in company with Laurie McManamy against Uruguay, their performances since have not been quite as good. Bouyahawi. Dolmy. And Tamumi is coming fairly deep. And if they do decide to man-to-man mark him, then Norbert Eder, wearing number 6 of Bayern Munich, is the likely man. It's Boudabala. And I think he's won that free kick of Jacobs. Suffering, as you can see, from an injury to his left knee, which he had before he came here. But I would doubt if he's quite as injured now as he is suggesting. And I think maybe FIFA are going to have to do something about the acting that we've seen from players here, which does no credit to the game of association football at all. I can only think that those who play with the oval-shaped ball must look at them and wonder whether they're men or mice. Oh, with me is Jimmy Hill. So your first thoughts, Jimmy?
Well, I can see the mouse has just got up off the floor there. He started this competition with a bad left knee, but I do think sometimes we're a little disrespectful to the Moroccans. They have a great respect for our country, and at times perhaps we've not given them credit for what they are achieving in world football at the moment. I can tell you they can play.
Full stretch was Jacobs. This is the cup tie with a difference in this tournament. The Africans into the second stage of a World Cup for the first time, Morocco representing them. So it does have the potential of a giant killing. And, of course, there is only one winner, even if extra time and penalties are required. Oh, it's not a bad try. And it's a corner. And that certainly surprised Schumacher. I think he was a little bit conscious that Kremer was well offside down the middle. But the referee quite rightly are judging that he could in no way be interfering with play. Boudabala to take the resulting corner. Hairi is just outside the 6-yard area, number 17. Away by Jacobs. Hairi really is the Moroccans' find of this tournament. He played against Northern Ireland and was in no way considered a first choice then. Came on as a sub in the opening game, was chosen against England, and then scored twice in the victory against Portugal. And Berthold a little exposed, and this is a good start by the Africans, which those of us who've been watching them here were quite frankly expecting. Hans-Peter Briegel, who was missed against the Danes, there can be no question of that. But if anybody was taking it easy in that match, in my opinion, it was the Danes. Nicely inside by Foller. Matthias, with Berthold to his right, 3 forward, Rummenigge starting in the front line, and Magat in the centre of the West German midfield, which is where he prefers to play. Timumi. Matthias who came to him. Kremer is forward, but had moved offside. Is Eder. Magat. Alofs in a bit of space. The shot did not get the deflection, and the reaction of the Mexicans in the crowd as we have a look at the man who got the injury early on, Boudabala. The reaction to that shot from the Mexicans suggests that they're going to support the underdogs here. Herwi. Dolmy. And Kremer somewhat on his own. Karl-Heinz Forster. A late challenge, but the Germans have possession. The referee not stopping the play unnecessarily. Rummenigge. Free kick. Challenge. There's part elbows, part pushing by Hairi. Berthold, all back by one for the Moroccans. This is Magat. Jacobs in with the shooting chance. Quite a comfortable test for Badou Zaki. Beaten only once in 8 games in the qualifying competition, and beaten only once here in the finals themselves. Timumi, faced by Matthias. The job seems to be his. And Eder at the moment is keeping an eye on the number 7, Hadawi. Haifa. Forward to Hairi. Good pace by Boudabala. The ball was cleanly won, though. Magat. Just a little bit of elbows from Hadawi. Alofs to take. Fuller and Rummenigge forward. This is Magat. Foul by Dolmy. The end man who turned round in the wall. Well, they finish up with 4, and Zaki's happy that the one nearest us, as they make it 5, covers the near side as we look. Matthias.
One thing the Moroccans have got is an outstanding keeper. The Arab nations normally find it a little difficult to get a calm, competent keeper, but already Izaki has shown his competence in goal with that long-range shot. He handles it well. He made one brilliant save against the Poles to deny them a goal in the first game, and altogether is the sort of keeper anybody would be pleased to have in the team.
Well, I'll tell you something else that they've got up front, Jimmy, which I'm sure you've appreciated. They have pace. Pace that produced this free kick, which Boudabala is placing with great care. And it's taken to Hadawi. 2 in the middle. 1 is Krimau. Header came from Forster. Same 2 in the middle, but that should be won by Jacobs. Bertolt. Fuller. No problems for Bouyahawi. Moving aside England's meeting with Paraguay, the Germans faced here by a position not faced by the other teams in this round of the last 16. Which has produced 1 or 2 clashes of the Giants, and the loser can go home with head held high. It will be rather difficult for the Germans to do so if they lose to the Moroccans. For all the increase in the power and the quality of football on the continent of Africa. This is Alofs. Like catching a tennis ball. Samumi is well forward, Boudabala is well forward, and Krimau, good header by Bertolt. Matthias. Reportedly on £3,000 a man for a victory. And win or lose, they will be welcome back in their own country with a royal banquet provided by King Hassan II. Sina. News from their camp was that they would approach this match in a very relaxed style, which I think we've already seen with coming up to 12 minutes gone. They've already exceeded anything previously produced by an African country. Khalifa to Timumi. Lamris, El Hadawi, Dolmy, Boudabala, arrogant pass, stub of the foot. Rummenigge occupying the centre of the midfield area, which he is wont to do these days. Briegel. Here we across. Free kick. Well, if they've been learning from the old world about football tactics, that's one they've adapted to very quickly. Quite happy to put the body there if they can't win the ball. Germans with 5 in the area. All of them nearer the goal than the penalty spot. Header. Came almost a pass. A bit of overconfidence in the way that Sina played that out, and here's Rummenigge. Rummenigge appeared in all 3 of West Germany's group matches as a substitute. Al-Hadawi, one of the professionals in the side, he plays for Lausanne. Feller. Alofs. Magat. The challenge by Khalifa. Waller. Using out the Boyahewi. Riegel capable of the long throw. Finds Jacobs instead. They're moving forward, and that's a gift for the goalkeeper. And in fact, the offside verdict is given.
I'm just thinking, we've seen it all this week. We had the extraordinary spectacle of the Mexican win on Sunday. We had the South American dogfight last night, and today we have this cup tie. The underdogs Morocco, can they eliminate West Germany? Sudden death it is, and I'm on the side of the underdogs, I must admit. And what I've seen so far would suggest that they certainly have a chance of winning this game. And what fun it would be.
Domi gets it back off the defender. Sina, free kick. First time we've seen Sina come forward from the back. The suggestion is that they have pace in most areas of the field. Now, Timumi is well capable of bending the ball. So is Boudabala, and it looks as though it's going to be left to the latter. It's got to be the biggest wall of the tournament so far. It's not 10 yards. Boudabala takes it. And we've seen very, very few free kicks taken when the referee has managed to get the ball back for 10 yards. Thomas Bertolt. Khalifa. A little fearful that he'd made a nonsense, but there was nobody to capitalise on it. He did look a little suspect in the air then with the cross ball. Timumi. Interesting how the West Germans can vary their use of players. We saw that particularly against Uruguay, and we're seeing it here in a different context, with Matheus given the man-for-man marking role when required, and not the man who was doing it then on Francescoli, Eder. Bertolds. Rummenigge. Riegel. Rummenigge plays his football in Italy. Khalifa. Budabala. To telegraph the pass. Magat. Khalifa. Sina. Little Dolmy. He was struggling when he played against Northern Ireland with a knee injury, which seems to have made a full recovery. Khairi. Lamris. And still, he's still got the man wide. Hadawi. Forster. Eder. Matthews. Magat. 4 players forward for West Germany. Bertolt. Magat. Briegel on the overlap. Voller. Alofs. Great turn by Hadawi, which is well appreciated here. German attack rather lost its impetus when the ball didn't go through to Briegel in the first place. It was stopped by Voller, who was still in the crowd. Briegel had the space. Sina. Offside against Primal. But he knew he'd get a roar. He may well get a ticking off too from the referee. But never mind, he enjoyed his moment. 20 minutes gone. And the outsiders of the last 16, 0. West Germany, twice winners of the World Cup, also 0. Ball was out. Matthias. Bertolt. Again, the Germans have 3 up. Rummenigge doing a little bit of a shuttle service between midfield and forward. Here he is forward. Losing out to Sina. Lamris losing in the air. This is Rudi Voller. And Khalifa comes away with it. Timumi. Magat looking for Rummenigge. Voller in the middle. Alofs also. And free kick. The defender was Lamris. One of the players from the best club in Morocco, Far. It's a forces side. Five Germans actually in the area, 2 just outside. Alofs. Still plenty of white shirts forward. Bertolt. Bouyahawi. More height than distance. And he didn't need to play that, did Sina. And if there is a weakness, and the absence of Byers maybe makes it more obvious, it is with the ball in the air. They rely on the goalkeeper to come and get everything.
You're not meant to beat the Sunriser to a point like that, Barry. I was just about to get the microphone up and say that, but it does seem that they panic more when the ball's high than on the ground. The only other way in which the Germans appear to have a chance to beat them at the moment is to whack one in from outside the box, but probably the goalkeeper will be adequate in that direction as well. So it's going to be a header if they're going to do it. That's our prediction.
Header there was from Khalifa. Magat. Nicely done, he's got the angle now. But everybody had been sucked in, there was nobody coming late. German ball. And the ball thrown away by Harry. Plenty of white shirts forward. And the free kicks are beginning to increase a little bit. And the Yugoslavian referee, chemical engineer from Belgrade, Zoran Petrovic, might have to produce a card to calm it. The African team got into great trouble in the African Nations Cup when they thought the referee blew the final whistle early in the semi-final when they were losing. There were all sorts of problems after that. Didn't reach Voller. The shot came from Alofs. Khalifa. Briegel. Free kick against El Hadawi. Brief explanation. May well have been in French because they all speak that language. And another body check. Matthews to take it. Again, 5 in the area, 2 outside it. Corner off the head of Sina. Inquiry came from Briegel. Lothar Matthäus taking all the set pieces. Took the free kick on the right, he's now going to take it again. Naturally right-footed, it will curl in a bit, the flag blowing a little, as you can see. Zaki. Timumi. Kudabala. El Hadawi. Abdelmajid Dolmi. Mohamed Timumi. I'm disappointed with the slowness of the build-up, I suspect. I can't see otherwise why they're whistling. Free kick against Magat. Khalifa. Everything to his left, including Klimau. Oh, that was well read by Sina. Looking for the nod back, he'd already moved for it. If Voller had actually been able to take it on his chest and turn, Sina would have been lost to the game. Timumi, too strong.
There have been signs in the last 5 minutes that the Germans might find a way through, but they didn't do it. They promised, they frightened, but couldn't find that killer punch. They're not going to find it easy to break down these fast-running Moroccans. I think they have a respect for the Germans that maybe they didn't have for Portugal, the same respect they had for England in that they're almost frightened to beat them. But if they get over that, they could prove very difficult as the game gets faster, we hope, the sun gets hotter, and the Africans get the advantage of the weather.
Eder, Thomas Bertholdt. He's got the free kick. and is a little unhappy, and finally the referee decides that something has to be done, and a yellow card is shown to Lamris. It's the 4th yellow card of this World Championships shown to a Moroccan player. The others were against Khalifa and Hairi against England, and Tamumi against Poland. Fair amount of barging going on in the middle, and Rummenigge had his shot blocked. It's a corner.
Their failing is that they don't go and meet that type of cross. They allow the Germans to get there first and flick it on. They're not bad at jumping for the high balls in the far post, but they haven't the confidence to go out and get their head to the ball first, especially on the near post.
We saw it in Querétaro, we're seeing it again. The Germans get plenty of people forward. That was probably the best header out that we've seen. Boudabala. And Magat will get that. Played it into the stride of Magat. Difficult to think about such things when you're breaking away, but by playing the ball as he did, he turned it into Magat's natural side, and Magat just had to swing the left peg, and it was going to go back to Schumacher. Fuller. Briegel. Again, a late challenge. If the Moroccans aren't careful, they're going to get themselves into severe trouble. The referee's given a warning by booking Lamris. 6 forward once again. Every set piece has at least that. Made light of the conditions, the Germans all through. Comes to Eder. Half an hour gone. No score. Which is the position in which Morocco found themselves on their 2 previous matches in the city of Monterrey. When they scored, it was in Guadalajara. But they will have to score here if they intend to progress to the quarterfinals.
Certainly from the penalties.
Dolmy. Lamris on this side, but to no great purpose. And the amount of whistling increasing. Crowd want to see more action. They're not alone in that. Although they may do well to reflect on the fact that the host nation comes down here to play the winner of this match. We've seen nothing as yet to frighten the Mexicans. Estadio Universitario will certainly be packed on that occasion. Alofs. That's a corner. Moments, the Moroccans, when they're a little bit too cocky for their own good. Significant, I think, that we're seeing more and more of Briegel on this near touchline getting forward. He's now waiting in the 6-yard area. Just outside it, 4 of them. Mathias going across to take it rather slowly. Again, there's nobody pulling wide for the run in. Forster might do it, belatedly. He's the number 4. But Hadawi got it away. Dietmar Jacobs of Hamburg to his soon-to-be general manager, Magat. Well, that seemed to me to be a little bit harsh from the Yugoslavian referee. Foot up he's given against Buyahewi.
And it was about the height of Maradona's foot when his goal was disallowed yesterday, I think for the same reason. It's a totally different interpretation than the one we're used to at home. It wasn't dangerous. He played the ball, never looked like touching the player, but it was given as dangerous play.
Magat trying to capitalise. 5 forward, Bertolt at the back. He loses out. Free kick for the challenge on Eder by Lamouris, who must surely be being given his last warning. He was the player booked. Six attackers once more. Bertolt. Well, at least he got a clean look at the ball for the header that went wide. But it's been one of the features, I think, of this tournament, Jimmy, that when free kicks or corners are taken to that position, not too many teams seem to have somebody running in to meet the ball from the far angle.
No, that's true, and it looks as if, trying to put my mind to the Germans' problem, that dead ball movements in the air might be the way in which they will eventually break these Moroccans down. It's interesting, it's not been the best game in the world so far, and this was called the Group of Sleep, and England got a lot of criticism for their performances here, but I'm wondering whether the weather does rather dominate the players, whoever they are. The Germans are not at all like themselves at the moment.
The referee looks pretty warm too. But it is to the Germans' great credit how they get people forward for every set piece. And they do tend to support the front men in open play. Bertolt, bit of running for Rummenigge. Matthias. Good positive play by the young man, and the referee says goal kick. And the German in the background there clearly would not agree, and neither would the player who went down. He's showing the shirt, which shows the mark of rubbing against the turf. But presumably, his intention was to show the referee that it had been pulled. Budabala just failed to keep onside. But they're keeping either Budabala or Krimau in a sort of position where he's marking the back line or pushing up on the back line. So if they do get a break, they've got to be aware of that, the Germans. Thomas Bertolt. That's rather more reminiscent of some of the games we saw in the groups. We haven't seen so far in the sudden death part of the competition. Briegel. Oh, that was a good tackle. Alofs out by Sina, and an offside flag.
Eight minutes to half-time, and as yet, not a walkover for the potential cup winners.
Dolny. Paddy, seen too much of him. Magat. Alofs. This is Tamumi. Budabala. Bouyahewi. All very slow. They probably used rather less energy than had the Germans. Budabala makes a forward run. And here is Krimau. Trying to find somebody moving inside. It's Tamumi. A very important piece of winning the ball by Dietmar Jacobs. Free kick against Alofs. And a sudden change of pace after the very slow build-up. There was a man forward to hold the ball, and there were a lot of runners coming in on it. Krimau. Corner. Krimau's brother, the other Mary, Mustafa, is among the substitutes. He's the one who has lost his place to Hari. Taken to Lamris, to Budabala, to Sina. And Krimau went to play the goalkeeper, with no intent on looking at the ball at all. Alofs. Magat. Khalifa. Budabala. Timumi. Outside of Dolmi's right boot. Timumi. He was fouled by Rummenigge. Budabala seemed to have shown too much and did a bit, but he's got his free kick. Just a little right of centre. Schumacher wanting plenty of bricks in the wall. 6 at the moment. And Budabala could come round the near side of the wall. Timumi could try the far side of the wall. Krimau moving around, being watched by Jacobs. Timumi takes it, and it's too high.
He's not really dominated today, Timuni, in the way that he has in other games. He's got as sweet a left foot as you'd ever see, and total arrogance and confidence. He doesn't expect to lose the ball when he's in possession, and he seldom does. If they have a weakness, they're not the strongest tacklers in the world. We've seen once or twice when it is a 50-50, they get beaten 8 out of 10. But that'll come as they're heading as time goes on. They've certainly got the control and the passing ability.
Sina. Put up by Matthias. Following your suggestion, Jim, it might be as well if they hand it over to the commentator from Morocco for a bit, because he's getting hugely excited over to our left. He must be seeing something that we're not. I don't know what it is.
I think he's getting excited at the score, which means that Morocco are still in the game and still in the World Cup. It's interesting how countries like Morocco raise their level to the top countries in the world. You can't do it because of the standard of local football. Players go out and learn from other stronger leagues and come back and make a stronger national side.
Simimi found the unmarked man, who was Khairi. Got plenty of men forward here, Morocco. And that could leave them a bit short if the Germans can break with speed. Shoulder to shoulder. Well, not so, says the referee. Free kick Germany's way. The linesman thought he'd given the free kick, but I'm sure the referee was right to call that shoulder to shoulder. Karl-Heinz Forster. Litbarski. Briegel. He's gone on the run. Magat. Here's Briegel. Still Briegel. And when the ball had gone away from his playing distance, he went over the top to collect it.
Just continuing that theme while they get the stretchers out. It doesn't always work that way with foreign football, because more than one British player going over to Italy has not necessarily come back an improved player. But if you look at the Danes, they've spread their players around Europe, and suddenly out of that have created an extremely powerful and skillful side representing Denmark. I think everybody on the field at the moment's glad of the rest. Barry's glad of the rest alongside me. And it does seem more than ever, if perhaps some of the criticism that has been levelled at the teams, here's the little move there with Briegel. He was doing quite well until that point, and then he decided to let the Moroccan know just what a tackle was about. But not the first late tackle we've seen in this competition, and I'm sure it won't be the last.
We've had 15 minutes of the second half. And it remains blank. 0-0 in a match which has to produce a winner. And, I can't help feeling that should it be decided from the penalty spot, only those actually in the stadium will watch it happen as it happens. El Hadawi. Budabala. Lamries. Dolmy. Bertolt. Rummenigge. Alof's ahead. It's got to be played now. Oh, really, I think that Rummenigge, for a player of his quality, should have been prepared to play the through ball. It's something that one or two of the other German players feel that he does a bit too often. He does like to keep possession. Bertolt. Litbarski. Only Rummenigge in the box. And the ball went out of play before curling back in. Among the German substitutes is Dieter Hoeneß, all 6'2" of him, and a noted player in the air, a sort of battering ram centre forward. Younger brother of Uli, who's played so well for West Germany for many years, but missed the crucial penalty in the European Championships that cost his country everything. It was in '76. I'm just wondering whether the battering ram of Hoeneß might be something useful to use if the Germans can't break them down, with arguably more skillful players than he. Hari. Zimumi. Matthias bought the dummy. Obstruction. Domi, Zimumi. Great turn to get face onto the ball, facing your opponent's goal. But again, they've all been sucked in. Nobody ever seems to make the run from the flank. Lamries. Ah, played with great confidence. Domi. Krimau. Well, they've made a gap for him, the Germans. Thomas Bertholdt. Rudabala looks for the return. And the free kick is against the Moroccan for a push and shove on Ada. Our only previous World Cup appearance in 1970 that I referred to earlier, when Morocco led West Germany. They lost 3-0 to Peru and drew 1-1 with Bulgaria, but everybody does that. Or at least Bulgaria don't beat anybody. Oh, good try, Alofs. Instant first time, but couldn't keep it down. Dolmy. Once more they pick up the ball and walk. Matthias, surprising Khalifa, who brings him down quite deliberately. Out comes the yellow card.
Jetzt macht was ganz.
The negation of the game that produces simply a free kick where Matthias had quite an amount of room. 3 to come from the near side as we look. Magat on the edge of the area, Forster arriving late. And here is Forster. Rudabala, and we've had 21-minute yawns of the second half. El Hadawi. Lamries on the touchline. Wind seemingly changing direction a bit, playing from right to left. Dolmy. Timumi, blocked by Matthias. Rummenigge, foul by Sina. Well, thoughts occurring to me, Jimmy, that you started off very much on the side of the underdog, but bearing in mind that should the underdog win, somebody would have to watch them play again. Do you still feel that way?
I changed my mind yesterday when it rained with the Uruguayans, but I don't mind really at this stage of the game. Anything that happens would be exciting, wouldn't it? They'll change the line in the song from "It happened in Monterrey" to "Nothing happened in Monterrey" before we're finished. But we did see perhaps one of the finest saves we've seen in years.
Dolmy's efforts to bring his goalkeeper into play, not successful. It's a corner. Alofs with the corner. Azaki comes for it. Magath, if it will come down, and it won't. Had to be hit first time because Azaki was limping back towards his goal. And Magath being greeted by a lot of booing, but that was a jolly sight more difficult than it may have looked. Ball was swirling a lot in the wind, had to be hit on the volley. It's the knee that the goalkeeper hurt as he came for the ball. And just to keep the record straight, although it doesn't seem to be madly important at this stage, I mentioned earlier that the Moroccans had 3 players booked before the start of this game, as one of those was Khalifa. His second booking will mean that he would not play in the quarter-final should Morocco get there. Timumi. Grimau. Beautifully done. Just didn't get enough height though on the cross, looking for Grimau. We've seen the odd moment from Timumi of real style and confidence on the ball, but if he's to actually create anything from it, he's got to get the final ball right or do his tricks really deep into the last third of the field. Matthias, Rummenigge, Litbarski, Matthias, Alof. Plenty of sting in the shot, with the goalkeeper not having to move his feet to make the save. Lambris. Grimau. Stina. Dolmy. More whistles and thoroughly deserved. One by Foster. Just get the feeling too that the Germans are getting as bored with it as many of the watchers. But are they able to do something about it? Rudabala over the outstretched knee of Briegel. will further incapacitate him. Dolmy. Lambris. Kyrie. Corner saved. Briegel. Jacobs. Matthias.
This is exactly the way the game against Poland slowed down, the 0-0 draw at the end. Both sides punched themselves out. If ever they had a knockout punch, that is right from the start. The heat, the weather and the humidity, no question about it, has killed them. But there's a bit of running here and there, as we can see from that burst by number 8.
Kudabala. Magat. Rummenigge starts to go. In comes Litbarski. Loses out to Dolmy. Klaus Allofs just put off his stride as he was prepared to shoot. When they get back to Morocco, one can only presume that the banquet given by King Hassan II will be something that takes all day. Kudabala, Dolmy, Harifa going forward on the right. He can exert his energy because he won't be playing in the next match, should there be a next match for Morocco. Oh, and Krimau and Forster not too happy with each other. Handshake in the end. Free kick is Morocco's way, of course. Schumacher, who's had no shot to save, 1 or 2 collections. Kudabala saves one there, with his body all behind the line of the ball. Takes, for the record, many more than 4 paces, but then many have here. Khalifa, now what? The referee goes over for words. Been booked once. And is very respectful to the man in charge, but that's after he committed his indiscretion. Briegel. Rummenigge, Briegel goes for the return. That's certainly the quickest thing we've seen on 2 legs in this half. And he actually looks the most capable of turning the thing the Germans' way.
He hasn't made the number of runs he normally makes. It's taken him a long while to store up that run that he just made. It was as a result of a mistake by a Moroccan, which gave him the chance. But I think Briegel's lack of running today, that he loves to get his head down and go for it, is an indication, really, of how the weather has played its part. I mean, you might be fed up with me saying that, and it's not anybody's fault that the players are playing under these conditions, unless it's FIFA. But it's not easy to entertain crowds, especially at this stage of the game. Tiredness is evident, and then skill should take over, but maybe it's this moment.
This is Alofs. Did well to keep his feet. But only a corner results. Good to see Alofs not looking for the infringement, which probably would have been an indirect.
Sanchez. De los Cobos.
Moroccans said they wanted the hottest air they could find to play the game their way, and that is the way it's been played. Matthäus, Rummenigge. Rummenigge, by no means the only German to turn away with a dejected expression on his face. Finding the match so frustrating, the Germans. And they're not alone.
And it makes one wonder what the physical condition of these players will be like in extra time, if it goes to extra time. There's just 12 minutes left on the clock, and at this stage, it doesn't look as if the deadlock is going to be broken.
Harry. Well, I don't wish the Moroccans any harm, but I think that FIFA should look with considerable care and be grateful for the thought that the World Cup of 1994 should be played in Morocco, and then politely decline. Unless we can play it in the cool of the evening, we'd see a lot of matches like this. Timoumi. Magat. Matthäus. Dolmy. Too prepared to go forward. Dolmy. El Hadawi coming, but he's the other way. Timoumi. Budabala. Looking for the return. Doesn't get it. Free kick. Hadawi, the hurt player. Unless you're talking about feelings, then I would suggest that Jacobs was more hurt, because he thought he'd won the ball cleanly. Player from Lausanne. Budabala. And he runs over it. Timoumi takes it. And it's really, to all intents and purposes, just a lazy lob over goalkeeper and goal. Magat. Germans building at the pace of the Moroccans. And surely the Moroccans' intent to bring them to the point of exhaustion. Matthäus. And a quite needless foul by Sina. Barsky was the player to place it. Rummenigge is on the left of the area. Bertelt on the right. Alofs could try one around the near side of the wall as we look. So indeed could Barsky, or Magat could go the other way. And the Moroccans maybe could do with somebody extra on the far side of the wall as we look. But Barsky takes it and makes the observation academic, if not irrelevant. But there was a gap round the other side for Magat, which he didn't seem to want to take. 8 minutes away from a continuation of what's become an exercise in endurance.
If the bonus is £3,000 per man for a win for the Moroccans, I'm wondering what they're going to get for a draw at 90 minutes, because it almost looks as if they're playing for it at this stage.
I can tell you the answer, Jim, and it's actually not as great a difference as maybe it should be, because they would only drop £500. That's the figure, incidentally, they've been getting for every win and draw here. 2,500 for the draw. They had 2 of those, 3,000 for the win. So they've done quite nicely, thank you. And according to those who were there, entertained hugely well against Portugal. Thomas Bertholdt. The onus is on the more experienced side to find the way through. Alof's trying to do so, and the goalkeeper had started to go for the cross, as Sina covered with the header. Alof's to take, Bertholdt on the near post, Rummenigge on the 6-yard line, Briegel moving into the 6-yard area. Comes back to Matthews. He lifts his head as he strikes, and up goes the ball. One or two in the crowd behind Izaki's goal, deciding they want to hang on to the ball. Can't see it, but the fellow's doing some shot put training with it.
Actually, there's hardly much difference to the movement of the players on the field, whether the ball's there or not at the moment, Barry. It's not easy to see whether the ball has come back into play or not. I think it just has. I should follow that by saying I don't necessarily blame the players for these conditions. There's no doubt that both sides are capable of producing far better quality football and certainly more energy in conditions which are more suitable really for football. Maybe the Moroccans do play it at this pace at home, but they're not entertaining half the world there, and they have that responsibility this evening for those of you who are still up, and in other countries also, who are following this World Cup and looking forward to it reaching a climax of exciting matches of sudden death.
Five minutes of the normal 90 minutes remaining, after which will come half an hour of extra time, 15 minutes each way, and then a penalty competition. And it should be said, against 2 of the best goalkeepers in the world. And this is the crowd's understandable reaction. The fact that the Moroccans seem to have decided that extra time is no problem for them. And it could well be that they've been somewhat conditioned into believing that that might be their best chance. But here's Alof, they've got a man over, it's Matthews! Magat, away by Sina. Credit Zaki with the save, he was at his man very quickly. But it was a clear opportunity, and he spread himself to the goalkeeper. And he's now come for the cross.
Well, let's give that man some applause for his performance in this match today. It's denied us the chance to see a goal, but what a splendid example it is to old goalkeepers. He showed courage there, he's shown all the arts, he's caught crosses. He made that incredible save, which will be argued about, I'm sure, afterwards, and compared with Gordon Banks' save, which is the measurement of great goalkeeping saves over the years. And at least it will provide, from this barren game, one talking point.
Free kick for the challenge on Rummenigge. All by Schumacher in the Moroccan half, and Schumacher is halfway advanced in his half. Matthias breaks the deadlock. And Zaki complaining that the wall didn't do its job. Real daisy cutter which bounced halfway through the 6-yard area. And the wall was badly formed, and no question about that. But Matthias takes full advantage of it, gives an excellent goalkeeper no chance, and gives a few people a great deal of relief. And has surely put West Germany into the last 8 and ended the African challenge. According to the clock, there are 1.5 minutes remaining. And Lothar Matthäus, who began this World Cup by giving away a goal to Uruguay, almost with his first kick, with an extraordinary pass back to Schumacher, does seem to have ended this war of attrition. Schumacher taking the ball for a walk. We're into the last minute. I tell you what, there are a few smiles suddenly around the face. Hostess has gone just past us, grinning all over her face, and I don't think she's German. Thomas Berthold. All the planning of the Moroccans goes awry because of a badly placed wall. Forster, Boudabala, Khalifa, doesn't matter about his second yellow card now. Good header by Matthias, and there was a threat coming from Hadawi, Boudabala, Rummenigge, and the referee blows as the clock ticks away. The African challenge comes to an end. The first side ever to get through the first round into the second round. Beaten by a goal by Lothar Matthäus, and I suppose a lot of people will say the drinks are on him.
Well, it was a remarkable piece of skill, there's no question about it, that free kick, and it did win the game at the end of it. But glad as we were, I think that there was no extra time at the end of the day. We have to have sympathy for that man, Zaki, really. It was a splendid performance, and how sad it was, really, that at the end of the day, it was his colleagues who let him down by forming that block in that way. So, Germany through. Don't tell me they're going to win the competition, but they're certainly through to the next round.
But a message, final message from here, a goal is a goal is a goal, Des.
There's no disputing that, but it did come a little bit late. Lucky old Germany, do you think, Em?
Yes, fortunate. I mean, the game was a poor game. We were in severe danger of having another half hour, weren't we? That was the worst part of it with 2 minutes to go.
I was looking forward to the penalties. I have to come clean.
I'm not sure they'd have scored off the penalties, but a pity for the goalkeeper because he was the highlight of the game. They often don't get a mention, but you usually like them to play well when it's been a good game, and they've had to make saves. But that was all there was. There wasn't any shots really, except the...
Did he have any chance, do you think, with the with that?
Well,
with
the wall was very amateurish. I mean, I think that the countries like them have caught up in a lot of ways. But I remember old Zaire, you see the fella's backed out of the wall. He's left a hole, so the man on the end, he's got nothing to hang on to. He's turned his back on it, man, which is
he struck it well, though, hasn't he?
Now the goalkeeper...
it's bending. You couldn't really blame the wall.
He struck
You
it
couldn't
well.
really, because he's maintained his position. If anything, he should have had more men in the wall, I would think.
Yeah.
He only had 4 to start with. But,
Looking at it, sort of slow motion, it looks as though the goalkeeper was a little bit late, but I mean, that shot
I mean, he earned the right to have a better finish than that. I think they will be very upset because if they got to extra time, it was a moral victory. But the Germans were terrible by their standards. But we all know that this happens in cup competitions in our country. The best team in the cup doesn't always win it, you know. I mean, the better teams have gone home.
What do you reckon, Zaki for Sunderland then?
South Shields, I'm not sure.
Would he settle into South Shields or
Oh, yes, it's the best part of the country. Anybody can settle in up there. You want to get up there and get your education completed.
It was, I think that it was very, very sad for the keeper because he was different class. I mean, he made some great saves, caught everything, nothing came back off him at all. Made 3 very, very brave saves as well, where he's come out at people's feet. And it's very sad that he's had to go out of the competition because he was a character as well.
He was. He wants to go and play in Spain, I believe, at Atletico Madrid.
Well, he's a good goalkeeper.
But would you fancy the Germans against Mexico now? They'll play that match there in Monterrey.
Well, not in the way they play tonight. You wouldn't fancy them against anybody. But Mexico are not a very good side. I feel that what's got them through has been the fact that they're playing at home. They've been playing in front of 110,000 their games in Mexico City. I don't know how many they'll get up there, but they'll certainly have the backing of the crowd, and they're playing on a lot of enthusiasm with a couple of star players, especially Hugo Sanchez, who's liable to turn the game. But the Germans have got to be much better. They look as though, as I said before, started very well, and it looked as though everything had caught up with them there, the heat, and they did look very tired.
Here's the quarter-final situation. We're all very tired. Brazil against France then, West Germany now against Mexico, Argentina against England or Paraguay, and Denmark or Spain against Belgium. Those 2 games tomorrow night. So we're all set for England against Paraguay tomorrow night. It's not going to be easy. None of the matches are at this stage, just proven. England, though, are seen as 13-8 on to go through. Paraguay 7-2 against.